Hi everyone, today I'm going to go through a list of my top 10 Neovim plugins. To be honest with you, I couldn't fit in the 10 Neovim plugins, so we'll have some bonus mentions. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is where I typically ramble about Neovim, Kubernetes, cloud native stuff, and all things computing and programming. This video is part of an ongoing Neovim series. I will link this video and the playlist in the video description. Otherwise, let's start. So what we're going to be doing today, this is a subjective list of plugins that I use and I find really useful and amazing. I'll try to give you enough mini demos and kind of example use cases so you can see why I find those plugins interesting. At the end, I hope you might get some ideas to install some of the plugins or maybe share the ones that you use. I'll be really curious to know if I miss some of those or that you're using something that is fitting your workflow. And I have a lot of plugins. So what the selection criteria were for the plugins, I tried to make them so that they are not only for programmers. If you use Neovim to write prose or do any other tasks, those plugins should also help you. I didn't want to focus on general utility plugins like LSP, plugin managers, and kind of more well-known plugins. I tried to rather focus on like a specialized utility ones. And the idea was to have a really big bang for the buck, so plugin that gives you enough interesting content. So here they are in no particular order. The first group is navigation. If you use Tmax, this plugin is definitely for you. If you don't use Tmax, you can skip to the next one. I added here number of stars on GitHub. You will notice some of those plugins are really popular, some of them aren't. That doesn't really mean anything, just a curious number that I thought I would add. So let's see how this plugin works in action. So here we have a ready session where I have essentially 3 Tmax panes. You can see small one, 2 ones on the right hand side, and one bigger one where I have 2 split Neovim buffers. So when I start moving around and I hit Control and J to go down, you could see that I'm jumping between those 2 Neovim buffers. If I hit Control L, you see that I went to the right hand side and I jumped out of a current pane and I jumped to a new, to a different Tmax pane. I can do the same with Control J and again and K to go kind of up and down between panes, and then from a pane with Control H I can go back again. So this is a seamless movement between Neovim buffers and Tmax panes. Here you can see the configuration. I'm not going to go through it. I'll link it in the video description. But you have to configure the plugin itself and also Tmax. But I find it super useful and you can kind of save on some key bindings. So that was the first one. Another one, or actually 2 in the utility categories, is Neovim Align and Vim Swap. Those are very specialized plugins, but I really like them. I use them all the time. By the way, most of the features that I will show you, they're typically also possible to achieve on your own, or there are alternative plugins. So I know, for example, that swap functionality is supported by 3-seater objects and so on, but I just stick to this plugin and I really like it. So let's imagine we have this kind of Lua function here. And what we can do, I'm going to select this paragraph here, and you see that the equal signs are not on the same level. They kind of like messed up a little bit. So I can, once I selected it, I can drop into command line. I can click align, type align rather, equal sign, and it's aligning beautifully all the equal signs. This can be obviously with any character or any string, and it works really great. Another one that I mentioned is the swap. So if we go a little bit to this line here, we have essentially the start column and end column here. So Those are kind of two parameters that we have in our function for the sub function. So now I can, for example, hit G and greater than, and you can see that those two parameters swap places. I can go into interactive mode with GS for G swap. Now I have this little highlight, and when I use left and right, I can swap those parameters with places. I can also swap lines. So I can go highlight the whole line and GS, and then I can go up and down. Well, it doesn't work, but doesn't always work. But I can also swap lines. I can swap those parameters as well. So really nifty plugin, very handy for quickly swapping words or parameters in a function and so on. So those were those two guys. Again, super small utility plugins, very focused, and I tend to use them all the time. One more is categories editing enhancements. So two editing enhancements that are very important is commenting and uncommenting parts of code, and also adding various braces, quotations around words. And those plugins are extremely useful. So let's jump to this session here. And let's first start by commenting and uncommenting. So you can see, for example, I have this echo line here. If I select this line visually, then I can hit backslash C, and at the bottom you can see I have various options. I can hit another C and I can comment this section. You will notice that I didn't specify that the comment must start with a hash. This plugin knows the file type, and it knows what kind of comment to apply to which file. So if we want to do the same commenting in Lua, I can, for example, again, maybe do like this, like that, backslash C, and I can then apply comment to the whole line. You will see that Lua is commented with double minus, which is a Lua comment style. So it's very handy to do this. I can comment it obviously on the whole line. I can comment it on the whole selection and so on. So this is really, really nice. You don't need to worry about commenting it manually. There are some other interesting comments. I can, for example, do this. Again, backslash is the entry key, C, and I can maybe align this to append. So I can click capital A, and you see this creates kind of like an append style comment. So very, very nifty little plugin. If you do a lot of coding, this is actually probably coding specific, but I think it was really useful. All right, let's talk a little bit about surround. Surround is something that is very, very useful, and one of the things that I believe Neovim kind of should come a little bit by default with this. But however, the plugin is great. So let's see. First one is I can insert something to surround with in an insert mode. That's probably came out really confusing. But if I go to insert mode, so my cursor is between I and N, I hit Ctrl G and I, and then I can type, for example, double quotation. You notice that it inserts double quote. So then from there, I can kind of keep on typing and it would insert it. So that's one. Another one is I can insert a whole line. So if I'm again in insert mode here, I can do Ctrl G and capital S, and I can do this, and you notice that it insert a new line and it put quotation on the line above and line below. So quite useful. For example, I can insert a quotation around a word. So let's do this. YSS, and this is a whole line. And then maybe I want to insert like braces. You can see that there are now braces with a space from the left and right hand side. I can do the same without it. So this is a closed brace. There's no space on the left and right hand side. I can do the same with lines. So I can, for example, select it and do YSS. This doesn't need selecting YSS and maybe square brackets. So that's quite useful. But the most useful, I think, is the visual. So if I select a word, then hit capital S and let's say backticks, you can see it surrounds it with backticks. I found those D and C options. Those, by the way, are customizable shortcuts. I can, for example, use D and in my case, semicolon to delete the surrounding quotations from here. So when I'm inside, I do D, semicolon, and then quotations, and you can see they are deleted. I can also change them. So C, semicolon, and then hit a new one, maybe a single quotation. C, semicolon, double quote, and single quote, because I need to tell it from which to which I'm changing. I also use it very regularly, especially in programming or even in writing Markdown files. There's something I want to change from italic to bold or other way around. Super useful. There are again other versions of this plugin. There's version for Vim, there's version from mini Envim, and so on and so forth. Whichever plugin you want to select, I find it really interesting to have. All right, so we looked at commenting and surrounding. Next section is navigation. And here I chose something a little different. Telescope is a plugin you definitely should have, but it's so popular I didn't want to include it in the list. But I included a telescope extension that allows you to insert emojis. So we go here, for example, and I am in another Lua file. If I go, let's say, this would of course wouldn't work, but I want to maybe insert emoji on this line. I have it bound to shortcut Ctrl-E for emojis, and then you can say, for example, starstruck, and there you go. And it inserts emoji on this specific insert position. So it works in insert mode. Really, really nice little plugin. You might have a system like Mac maybe where you have an emoji integrated with your system, but I find it much faster, and the emoji selection with Telescope is really good. Another section is Quickfix List enhancements. So if you don't know what Quickfix is, it's like a special list in Neovim, or a special little window that gives you additional insights and allows you to modify various things. That might sound a bit confusing, but let's see this in action. So here I have, for example, one of my projects. It's like an AI related. And let's say I want to find every file that has the word prompt. So this is a part of Telescope. I'm just doing a live grab with Telescope, and then say prompt, maybe prompt, like that, prompt. And then we have various files here. So let's open some of them. When I hit tab, I am going to select a certain file. So I selected one file. Let's go to another one. Let's say this maybe here, prompt reader, another tab. And then I can now hit Alt-Q, which sends it to the Quickfix list. The way we got to Quickfix list is a bit convoluted, but I wanted to show you more real-life example. Now I have this Quickfix list, and on the top you can see a preview. So when I swap places, now my cursor is on line 1 in Quickfix. It is in AICMD test.go on a prompt word that was found. And then the other one is other file. So I can do all kinds of things with it. One thing I can do, for example, since I have those two files, I can now, inside of those two files, change a word or execute a command for both files. So let's do this. So to do this, I do cdo, so it's just quickfix do. And then, for example, I want to, maybe for the whole file, I want to search for the word prompt, and I want to change it to prompt, something like that. And I want to do this in every file. When I do this, you will see that it's changed it everywhere. It did 6 substitutions on 5 lines. So now let's update the files. So update sends a save command, and we can see with LazyGit that indeed we changed kind of prompt to prompt. Of course, we broke everything. The code doesn't work. But you can see that I was able to find something by word, and then I was able to execute commands on the Quickfix list. But that's not all. Let's first of all remove this. We want to revert the changes. What we can do with this list also. Let's close this one. I can, for example, say, just edit it so the file reloads. I can say help grep cdo, which command which is executed, and then I can see if I do copen, which is for Quickfix List. You probably don't see this really well. Let me close this, and we can open Vim again. Help grep cdo. Now we can do copen, and you should see at the bottom here is a Quickfix List. So what I can do is I can use Fuzzy Finder integration, FZF, and maybe find every help instance that has the word Vim in it. So I can do ZF to enter the FZF mode, type Vim, it's only one, maybe something like command. Oh, there you go. So command com. So I have two results. I can hit Ctrl O to select all of them. You see this little red line. When I hit enter, I have a new Quickfix List. You can see at the top, it changes to a place in help files that I can jump to and read about it. So it's very versatile. It's essentially gives you like this springboard to do other things with it. You can change, you can execute commands, you can, list through files. All right, let's create again the Quickfix List from our files. So we will execute the same command with the prompt maybe. So we'll add a readme by hitting tab, and we'll add this config test.go. When I hit again Alt Q, I'm sending it to Quickfix. And by default, when I hit enter, it opens this file. So I'm going to close this. It opens the file, right? Let's close it. And then we're going to open Quickfix one more time. I can select it with Shift V. And now I selected 2 lines. And when I do space, you can see that it opened 2 files. Probably not really visible well, but it opens 2 files horizontally split. It's kind of a nice addition to Quickfix List when you can open multiple files from the Quickfix. I know it was a bit complicated. I hope I showed it well, but Quickfix List is probably a topic in and of its own, but those plugins enrich it and make it much more interactive and user-friendly. All right, let's move to another one, which is file handling. Those are kind of 2 plugins I selected here. One is mini files, and this one is really, really cool. So let's go first to mini files. So for mini files, I'm gonna close this and show you how I am entering this. So I'm opening Vim, and then I have a shortcut called leader MF, and it loads a buffer with the content of the directory. So all things that you see are folders. And then at the bottom, I have some files. So you can essentially treat your folder structure as if it were a Neovim buffer, which is great because that means I can use all the Neovim stuff, for example, substitution. So if I go to the bottom here and treat this as a buffer, I can, for example, say, maybe do, Neovim and something like that, maybe, and change it to capital letters. So when I do this, when I hit enter, nothing happens just yet. I can see that now I have 4 substitutions made. When I now hit equals, it tells me, oh, do you want to rename those directories from small letters to capital letters? And if I would hit yes, it would actually do the renaming for me. I'm going to hit no. So those are really, think about it. You can make operations on the file structure on the current directory as if you were doing it in Neovim, which is really interesting concept. I use it for more complicated changes. Let's imagine, for example, I can take this change like that. I can go to insert mode. Actually, let me go to block selection mode. I can select all those things. I can do like that, hit 1 and dot maybe, like that, escape. This would give me all the ones. I can go again to selection mode, and I can do something which is G Control A, and now I have this kind of from 1 till 10 numbered files. So now again, if I would hit enter, it would tell me, do you want to rename this to that, and so on and so forth. So you can see you can create a really powerful file operations. So that was mini files. Oil Envim is an alternative to this plugin. Couldn't get it to work. There's some issues, but both mini files and Oil Envim do the same, and this is really, really cool addition. So you can treat your directory listing as Neovim buffer. Another one is Vim Startify. So this is what you see, and the Startify is essentially your splash page, starting page for Neovim. The reason why I like it is it has this little recently edited files with some icons, but what you can do, you can edit the bookmarks and commands. So the bookmarks are the more important ones. You can see I have files here like zshell.rc, tmaxconf, tasks.rc. Those are files that are very frequently accessed, and it's very easy for me to bookmark them, and I can go to Startify. Startify can also create and save sessions. That's something probably for later, but I find it really nice to have this kind of splash page. And there are, of course, alternative plugins specifically for Neovim, but I find this useful. All right, we are getting to an end. Few more slides left. Thank you for sticking with me so far. This plugin is AI plugin. The one plugin that you're probably familiar with is Copilot, and that's also available in Neovim. But this plugin is something slightly different. You can actually chat with AI through Neovim buffer. You can also correct code and do other things. But I wanted to show you this little alias. It's not little, it's quite some commands here, but it's very simple to understand. It's called a global alias, and it enables me to take an output of any command and pipe it into this GP Envim plugin and essentially open it with this command. So let me open one more pane here. And let's say, for example, I want to do LH to list all the files. And when I do A, you can see that it opened it in this chat mode. And now I can see, for example, I can chat with AI now. So I can do things. I can go there to the bottom, and this is what it pasted into the chat. And I can say, for example, how many files are here. And I can do Control GG, that's the shortcut that sends. And you see this is ChatGPT 4.0, and it does its own magic, talking about 3 files. Is it really 3 files? Let's see. Yeah, it's 3 files, so it was correct this time. So very useful if you use ChatGPT or if you use AI, you can chat with ChatGPT inside of Neovim buffer, which has many advantages over chatting just like that through command line. You can obviously, copy, paste, pull. You have all your Neovim power at your fingertips when you chat with the agent like that. Of course, this chat is through API, so those chats in the case of ChatGPT will be paid, but you can also have other plugins that integrate differently, and you can use Olama, for example. All right, so this one was an interesting one. 2 more in the same category. One is called No Neck Pain, and another one is just one of my favorite themes. So No Neck Pain is actually quite useful. So here you can see the theme. I can use Telescope to change color scheme, and I selected Tokionite as a Tokionite theme. And you can see this little scratch buffer here. This is No Neck Pain. What No Neck Pain does, if you activate it, I have it under leader NE, it makes it so that the buffer on the left is just like a buffer zone, and it makes your head don't go that much to the left or right. It just squeezes it a little bit on the screen. It's configurable how much you want to squeeze it. I have a 4K screen, so if I just look at the screen, I don't need to move my eyes and my head that much, so it's really useful. I have another shortcut that I use, which I have it under F2, and you can see that this shortcut freezes at more or less 25% of the screen, the scroll buffer. So my cursor stays at more or less the same position, but the screen scrolls. So again, my eyes can kind of look only at one spot. I don't need to go like up and down all the time, which is really, really useful. And it saves your eyes and also your neck. That's why no neck pain. And the tokenite, you've seen how you can change colors. One last, or maybe not last, no, not last, one before last, is something called, we are already in the bonus round, so this is a 14th plugin. Plugin called MD-Eval, and what it does, in a nutshell, it can evaluate commands inside of Markdown and then put the result of the evaluation under the command. I use it for interactive learning, automated runbooks, and all kinds of things. For my line of work, working with content, and I work a lot with infrastructure, this plugin is just simply amazing. So let's see how it works. We have this simple bash snippets in a Markdown file. So when I hit leader EV in my case, you can see that just below the snippet, I have an empty line and the result. That is the result of the command that was evaluated. So we are currently in bash class folder. I can evaluate any command. So if I do this, in here I am using braces expansion to kind of print out the list of capital letters and numbers. And you can also evaluate loops, whatever you want. So in this case, it's a little bit of information about my system. Very, very, very useful plugin, and highly recommend running this. There are, of course, alternatives. One alternative is SnipRun, that is a little bit new. But if you find yourself often executing code snippets, that might be something for you. And this is the last plugin. That's called Obsidian. You might have heard about Obsidian in making notes. I find Obsidian as an idea really great, especially the connectivity between various nodes and files that kind of mimic how your brain works. However, the Obsidian UI for me is just too much. It's cluttered, it has all those weird node plugins and so on. So I don't really enjoy working with Obsidian itself. And that's why Obsidian Envim is something I've selected. So what it does in a nutshell, it essentially just open Vim here and I can go leader OQ. This is a quick select list for my notes. You can see my notes are organized in folders and I have various notes here. So if I do Envim maybe development, I am now inside a node. So I have a little bit front matter here and I have various nodes. I can, for example, say maybe I can use tags. So leader OT is for tags. Let's check tags with plugins. We have mini AI Envim node about mini AI text objects. So you can see how it can be. There are no backlinks. You can have backlinks like in Obsidian and so on. I have my own automation with OC that I can create a new project and I can create a resource and so on. So I spent some time making sure that it's a little bit more robust for me. But it's a really great experience. I don't need Obsidian UI, and I have this linking feature from Obsidian right there in a plugin. Also use it every single day, which is really, really cool plugin. So, that was a long one. So that's all, folks. Thank you so much for sticking till the end. This video is something that you voted for, that you want to see my top 10 plugins. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really curious, what are your top 10 plugins? Are any of the plugins I showed something that you're thinking of trying out yourself? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching and see you in next video.